One of the things that I've just heard Mr. Staffieri, you mentioned, is that customers can get that content for free. I would suggest that there's nothing a customer of Rogers gets is for free. They've paid for it one way or another, and I think it shows the distance between where your lifestyle in life is versus where customers that we represent are, because this nickel and dime approach is significant. And the simple question I want to ask you, I really want to know, do you think it's ethically from you and your team at Rogers to have different prices for different customers based upon their advocacy? So when you look to talk to your customers right now, you have persons with disabilities that may not be able to actively engage and try to get this. You have people that can't leave a job because they're they don't have the time to actually spend 3 to 5 hours on the phone trying to get a better rate. And you have other people that were able to negotiate a different price. So explain to the Canadian public the ethics of you and your board about allowing your own customers to be divided.
What you see play out is the dynamics of a competitive marketplace. We have to compete. Just this past weekend alone, Black Friday weekend, is a busy period for our industry. And so as we compete for customers, we are compelled to make sure we put the best value proposition in front of the customers. And those will vary.
That's a predatory practice on your own customers. Explain specifically, if you can't fight for yourself and be on the phone because maybe you're a single mom going to work, why that person should pay more, or somebody with a disability, or somebody with English as a second language, or doesn't have the skill set or somebody to advocate for them, why they have to pay more than the person that actually has been identified to get the actual reduction. And I can tell you, not only has CBC recorded many of these stories, I have a whole bunch here that people have emailed me in. So you tell Canadians right now, specifically why some have to pay more for the same services.
As I said, we strive to provide the best value proposition for every single customer. And the pricing will depend on the time of year, when it was purchased. It'll depend on the services and products that are included. But I think it's important to stress that we aim to make it easy for customers to interact with us, whether it's by phone, whether it's digitally, whether it's through electronic chat. But most importantly,
you're okay. I just want to make sure that I get this straight. You're okay that if it's a single mom who's not able to be on the phone and get a discount, can pay more, or somebody with a disability, or somebody else that's it's okay. You guys are okay in your boardroom there with having different Rogers customers pay different amounts of money based upon their individual situation. You're okay with that?
We work with customers to make sure that we can get them the products and services that fit their budget. Just recently, after closing Shaw, we expanded our Connected for Success program. So for deserving Canadians on low income, we have programs where they can get internet for as low as $9.99. We have wireless plans at $25.
It's not the question, though. I guess, again, you've answered, I suppose, is that that's the culture of Rogers, that it's okay to be predatory on your own customers, and they can have different prices, different under the same situations for the same product. I've got a situation here where somebody had Rogers come to their household. They play for Bell as well, too, and they're stuck in a contract they didn't want for another 2 years. What's your suggestion for that person that didn't want that service that they got, and they've been able to get no satisfaction? What's your suggestion? Where do they call and what do they do?
For customers who enter into term commitments with us, in the first instance, we want to be very clear on what's included and what's not included, and we provide the customer up to 10 days to look over the contract, think about it, and they can cancel within that period of time with absolutely no penalty. And so that's the flexibility. We want to make sure customers are getting into products and services that they want. It's not in our interest.
Person can do. You know what? I'll table some of these stories for my other colleagues to have, so that they'll see these. And with regards to the customers, like CBC broke this story, and there's all kinds of people that are actually complaining about this practice. Is it just basically that you just assume that your customers are stupid? Because obviously there's enough evidence here that people were confused, they had different expectations, and you haven't relented from this practice, as opposed to you saying, well, you know what, some are getting it, some aren't, some are paying for part of it, some might be paying for all of it, we don't know. Why don't you just end this practice altogether? And again, why do you think it is so many of your customers never understood your own process? Are they that dumb?
As I said at the outset, in terms of you're referring to the price adjustments on set-top boxes. The majority of our customers are not impacted by the change. One set-top box is included.
Make it all of your customers then and treat them equally. Why don't you just make them all treated equally and not have any of them disadvantaged? And by the way, just because you have the app, it's not for free. You're paying for service anyways. You're paying for that. And it's a different quality than what you're actually paying for the top box. So you're actually discriminating amongst the quality of your own customers. Why not just stop this nonsense right now and stop doing those extra billings?
As I've said, the set-top box provides premium features. Brett has walked through some of those, award-winning voice remote, a number of other features that are beyond being able to experience and view the content through the app. And so
sadly, you understand how tough life is for some people out there, and this all matters to them. Your company announced recently that pay-as-you-go option is being terminated. So before, you've had customers that had $100 that they could have pay as they go, and now they have to be enrolled to a $25 a month program. Why did you do that?
You're referring to our prepaid wireless offering, I believe. What we've done is simplified the offering. We made it a lower cost on average by enabling much more digital capability and self-serve capabilities. And for customers that previously had a prepaid balance, what we've done is offered those customers, as part of the conversion, discounts that make up for the value that they had on their prepaid card. And so they could come on for as low as $5 a month to maintain that service.
So I guess, so I got a case here. Well, actually, this one's $25 a month, so I'll follow this up because you're saying now that could be $5. This goes exactly what I was questioning about before. Apparently, ethically, it's okay for Rogers customers to get some benefit and get a reduction and others not to get it, because they're now running this system that you have here, going to spend $25 a month is what's been offered. But you're saying now you can get it for $5. So I'm hoping that everybody hears this and can understand they can get this substitute at least for $5. But still, that's more money than what they had before. I've got another situation here. One's come in. My daughter had internet service with Rogers as a student. She ran into financial problems with a service terminated in May of 2024. Rogers continued to bill her monthly for the full amount for the services equal to the amount she's paying for prior to termination of service, and just received another bill for December 2024. I intervened on her behalf to dispute the bill, transferred to several departments. Answer still had to pay the full amount for her daughter, despite everything that they did. They disputed it, went to your legal department, and the legal department finally got a phone number, fax, and so forth, and then the legal department hung up on them. So they sent an email in and tried several times the fax, and then the legal team actually now blocked this customer that you have here. So to you, sir, there's another example of somebody has an advocate that is trying to at least fight you still. How fair do you think it is that, again, you have some customers that can be treated differently than others?
I'm not familiar with the specific example you're quoting in terms of what the facts are, and I'm not sure I understand the question. If I go back to the point on prepaid that you made, the amount of discount that they get will vary depending on how much of a prepaid balance they have. And so that's why you get differences. And certainly the customer that you refer to, we would be very happy to work with that customer to look at what the issue is. On the most recent example you quoted, as I said, really want to look into it, and if you could provide those details, we'll make sure we do the right thing for the customer.
No, I appreciate that. We'll follow up, but I guess there is a departure here. I guess, telephone internet service is essential service for Canadians. And I think the departure we have here is that I believe that everybody should be treated the same, especially since it's a public service. As Mr. Perkins noted at the beginning of this meeting, the public spectrum is actually auctioned off and is used for this companies for privilege, and they get safe harbor from foreign investments and foreign competition. And at the same time, we are sanctioning as legislators an abuse practice here through the back door by letting Canadians to be treated differently depending upon the corporate boardroom influence that they have. So I ethically have a problem with that, because I represent persons with disabilities, I represent seniors, seniors, I represent all kinds of different people that don't have the same strength in terms of supports around their life to actually fight through this process. So I think there's something serious for this committee to really engage in, because we are sanctioning an abuse and a predatory practice the Canadian public, because this airwaves that we own, the spectrum, is the public's. So it's not fair for them to be treated differently from these companies. They don't have to have the exact number. I know that Mr. Patzer has identified a number of layoffs that took place, but Mr. Staffieri, why do you, and can you confirm that you require non-disclosure agreements for people to get severance pay?
In terms of any employment separation that we have standard terms around that. As is very typical, non-disclosure of certain things relating that are proprietary to Rogers would be part of that as well, if that's what you're referring to.
Of layoffs require a non-disclosure agreement.
And that would be very typical in the industry and in the Canadian landscape. I'm asking about yours. What percentage do you and have you denied anyone severance pay if they didn't sign the non-disclosure agreement? What happens then? Well, as I said, on any employment separation, being careful with my words, because every situation is different, and there are different legislative requirements in different jurisdictions, and so we vary based on a number of factors in terms of what it would look like in terms of particular terms relating to an employment separation agreement.
The challenge we have here is that since the Liberals approved the takeover of Shaw, we've seen Rogers employees and Shaw employees fired, and I guess maybe the government may have some regrets of then making those employees have to sign non-disclosure agreements. We could have maybe perhaps put that in the terms and conditions. But what do you have to say to, like, I've got a number of former employees here who feel they've been bullied into signing a non-disclosure agreement. Do you have any words to them? Some of them have been a loyal Rogers employee for upwards of a decade.
As I said, every situation has been different, and we've been working with employees to find alternative opportunities for them. And in cases where we just don't have that, it's our policy and our intent to make sure we work respectfully with the situation of every individual that leaves this company.
We set the terms and condition as Parliament of how the spectrum can be used in the public, and how we also control parts of the industry with regards to how they enact their own competition or don't have their own competition, and also treat their customers. And I think what's really unnerved me in some respects to the testimony today here is it doesn't seem even reaches a understanding point that it's okay to treat Canadians differently, even if they have signed on for the exact same product. They have same contract and everything, right down to the sentence of from the start to the end of that contract, and we allow a system in place for some to be disadvantaged. And those disadvantaged usually probably are the same people that we often have to deal with in terms of society, where they are once again treated as secondary citizens even amongst these corporations. And I think that's why I'd like to see some more action on this in the future, because we do have a role and responsibility for how this is conducted. And I'm hoping the minister's listening and following some of this as well too. The CRTC has said a little bit, but just to conclude, I think it's important that we set some type of standard here, that it's not okay. And you literally have in the Rogers universe some customers subsidizing other customers because they're paying more for the same thing, and just because they had a friend somewhere or an insider or have somebody that can actually help them, or they get endless amounts of times to fight, you can actually get a reduced service.